let's talk about some Christmas books. Hey there, it's Mitzi. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to give you an update on some of the Christmas books I've been reading this week. And I am going to be sipping this coffee because I've tried to do this 3 times and every time it's been blurry. So hopefully I am in focus this time. We're going to see. I'm about to give up on this. I'm not very techno savvy and my son usually helps me out with this. So he had to come in here and try to fix it. Anyway, I have been reading this week for Christmas, some Christmas books. I'm trying to do a couple of different readathons. I am participating in the Cloak and Dagger Christmas Readathon, which I just updated, gave you an update a couple of days ago, I think, on that. That's going fantastic. And then I'm also just reading a bunch of Christmas things like cozy or Christmas books and things like that. Christmas picture books as well. And you all have been giving me all these recommendations. So first, thank you for all the recommendations because I did go to the library and check out a couple of the picture books that you recommended. I tried to find some of the others and unfortunately my library didn't have those, but I have them on my list to go hunt down, so hopefully I can find those too. But Tia in all the books, she has these wonderful challenges this year. There's the 25 books of Christmas and the 25 movies of Christmas. And she has this graphic that you can use, and then you, as you read the books or watch the movie, you kind of plug into each day, each of the 25 days, a little image to represent that movie or book. Well, I'm trying to do both of them, and I'm having a great time doing that, and so I'm sharing that over on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'll leave a link in the description box to Tea and All the Books so that you can see the graphic for that, as well as my Instagram, so you can follow along as I read a bunch of Christmas books and watch a bunch of Christmas movies. And maybe I'll share some of the Christmas movies in another video. But today it's about the books. And so I've read several for the 25 books of Christmas that I want to share today. So I'm going to start with the picture books. The first one is one, A Wind in the Willows Christmas. This is just a picture book if you enjoy Wind of the Willows like I do. Wind of the Willows is one of my favorite books of all time. It's just a warm and fuzzy book for me and I love it. So this is a chapter out of Wind in the Willows and it's just beautiful. It's very cozy. It has some beautiful pictures in it, and again, if you enjoy Wind of the Willows, you would love this picture book. The illustrations are just so super cozy and it gives you all the warm feelings for Christmas, so I highly recommend that one. I just wanted to mention that because I did read that this week. But then these two were recommended by you, and thankfully my library did have them. Christmas in the Country by Cynthia Rowlett, and it's illustrated by Diane Good or Good, I'm not sure. But this was fantastic too. The illustrations are just gorgeous. Look at this picture. It's about a little girl who was raised by her grandparents, and it's just a Christmas memory basically in this picture book. But look at them decorating that house. Isn't that just beautiful? And I just love this book. But I loved this because it reminded me of my own childhood. There is this section in here on one of the pages. She talks about when she was a child and they would have the Christmas program at her church. And she says, let's see if I can find it. She says, on Christmas Eve, my grandparents and I went to services at the small Baptist church at the bottom of the hill. I got to stand up front with the other children and sing a Christmas carol for the grown-ups. And then it said afterward, each child was given a small brown bag full of candy and nuts and a tangerine. Well, that reminded me of my own childhood because I remember when I was a child, we would have a Christmas program, of course, at church, and we would sing, and we'd have the Christmas pageant, all those things. And then afterwards, all the children would walk up to the fellowship hall behind the church and they would receive a small toy and a bag of fruit. And so when I read that, I thought, that was us. We did the same thing. And I remember the smell of the oranges in that room. And still to this day, when I get a whiff of an orange, sometimes I go back to that, and the memory of receiving that bag of fruit when I was a child. And I love oranges too, so that's a fond memory for me. So I highly recommend Christmas in the Country. It was beautiful, and anything by Cynthia Rowlett is wonderful anyway. So thank you to the commenter who recommended that one, as well as this one, because whenever this one was recommended, I was told it was about birds in a tree. Well, of course, I'm on board for a picture book about birds in a tree. This is called Red and Lulu, and it's by Matt Tavares. I think that's how you say it. In this one, we have these birds, and they live in this tree in the yard of this home, and they've lived there for years. And one day, one of the birds leaves, the other bird stays behind in the tree, and they chop the tree down and they take the tree away. And so it's about the adventure of trying to find the bird who is still in this tree. But, spoiler alert, the tree is used for Christmas. So it is decorated at Christmas time and used at Christmas. Now, what was wonderful about this particular one, first of all, the pictures are absolutely gorgeous in this one too. I mean, just beautiful pictures. There's one with the red bird. Look at this. I mean, look at those pictures. Just gorgeous. So it's a beautiful book and a sweet little Christmas story. But one thing I really enjoyed about this one was at the very back, there's a page that explains what the story is about. And it talks about this tree. It said before there were even any buildings in New York City's Rockefeller Center, there was a tree. It said on Christmas Eve in 1931, construction workers decorated a 20-foot evergreen there at Rockefeller Center, and they used whatever they could find, gum wrappers, tin cans, whatever. So it became a tradition, and they continue that tradition still. And I just loved that it had at the back. Oh, and the other thing is, after they're done with the tree, they take that tree and donate it to Habitat for Humanity, and it's used for lumber to build new houses for Habitat for Humanity. So I thought, what a wonderful story the true story was that came with this book. So I just loved it. I thought it was a wonderful story, and I highly recommend that one too. And again, beautiful illustrations. So if you're like me and you like picture books, I recommend those. Some other books that I read this week was The Night Before Christmas by Nicola Gogol. I guess is how you say his name. Now this was not at all what I was expecting. I thought, okay, look at that pretty little book. It's called The Night Before Christmas. No, it is definitely not a cozy Christmas book. But I really enjoyed it. When you think of Night Before Christmas, you think of the poem 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. But this is much darker, and it's more like a gothic folk tale kind of story. It's about this blacksmith in this village who is in love with Oksana, who is this beautiful young girl. And Oksana knows she's beautiful, and everybody thinks she's beautiful. And she really takes this love of this blacksmith for granted, and she kind of uses him really in the story and just wants him to dote over her, and she really doesn't care about him. So that is how the story begins, but many things happen in the story, and what makes it really interesting is then the devil appears, and there is sort of this competition between the devil and the blacksmith. And there's a lot of the trickery and things that you would think of with a, story about the devil. So it really was not what I was expecting, but I found it very interesting, and I could not put it down. Again, it's not very long. It's a novella, and it was, in one sitting because I couldn't stop reading. I was like, what in the world's going on? What is happening here? So if you want something totally different for Christmas and you like folk tales, I highly recommend The Night Before Christmas. And I really enjoyed his writing, so I am interested in reading some other things by Nicola Gogol. I'm not sure how to say his name. You know how I am with names. If you follow my channel, I apologize. but I am interested in more of his work because I did enjoy his writing. The next book that I read was a wonderful read too. It's called A Redbird Christmas by Fannie Flagg. This was recommended by Elizabeth at Lizzie Faye Loves Books. Thank you, Elizabeth, for recommending this one. I think she said it's one of her favorite books, not just at Christmas time. But I highly recommend it. Well, you could read this anytime and enjoy it. It is Christmassy because there are some central Christmas theme scenes in this, especially at the end. It's very Christmassy. So I would recommend this for Christmas, but again, you can read it anytime you want to. This was so heartwarming and funny. It had everything I wanted to read right now. It's about this man who is sick and he has a lung problem. So his doctor tells him that if he doesn't move away, I think he lives in Chicago, if he doesn't move away from the harsh climate there for the winter, that he's gonna not make it. He's in that bad a shape. So he ends up in a small town. I'm thinking it was Alabama, but it's a small southern town where it's warmer. And it is not at all what he expects to find, because he is an orphan. He was left on the steps of like an orphanage or something. Didn't have a name, you know. He doesn't have family. He's divorced at this point in the story, and he's sick. And so he ends up in this small southern town with these quirky people, and there's like just one grocery store in the whole place. I mean, it's very small, where everybody knows everybody's business, that kind of town, which makes for a great story. And I loved it because I know these people. These are my people. And so I was really excited to read along, because I was like, yeah, I know someone just like that who would say those kind of things. So I really enjoyed it. Again, it's super heartwarming. It's called A Redbird Christmas because there is a red bird that is central to the story. The red bird lives in the grocery store, and he's pretty talented, and he has a lot to do with the story too, that adds a whole nother level to this story. So I highly recommend this one as well. It was a great read, and thank you to Elizabeth for recommending this one. And then finally, I read The 101 Dalmatians by Dodie Smith. Now, I would not have read this, but Kate Howe, she hosts the Kindred Spirits book club. And so we are sort of assigned books to read. And then after we read them, we come together on a Zoom meeting and talk about it. And I had read last month, I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. So I thought, well, that'll be good. I enjoyed that story. I'll read 101 Dalmatians because I've never read this before. Of course, I've seen the Walt Disney adaptation many times, but it's been years ago since I've seen that. But I thought, yeah, that sounds like a good one. So I decided to read it. And I am so glad that she chose this book for our Kindred Spirits book club. It was one of the best books I have read this year. And I even used, y'all, because it is dogs in this, I used my cute little bookmark for this too, just because I'm one of those people. But anyway, such a great story. If you have not read it, I highly recommend it. What makes the story so wonderful is it's told from the Dalmatians' point of view, the dog's point of view. So they are, you know, in charge, basically. The owners of the dogs are the pets. So it's a reversal of roles. And I loved it because I am a dog owner, and Millie, my dog, rules our house. She's queen of the castle here. And I'm always teasing, saying she tells us what to do. And we are her pets. And so that's kind of the perspective in this story. It was fantastic. I could not stop reading. I read it in one day. It was so good. It's not that long. I know this looks like it's very long, but this is actually 2 books, and it's a middle grade. This edition actually has the 101 Dalmatians and the Starlight Barking, which I think is like a sequel. And I will read that too because I love this one so much. But as soon as it started, from the very first page, I knew I was going to love it. That's how great it is. If you're not familiar though with the story, it is about this lady here. She's on the front cover, and she's an evil woman, and her name is Cruella de Vil. And she wants these puppies, these Dalmatian puppies, to make into coats. So of course they're in danger, and they are dog-napped or kidnapped and to be made into furs. So that's what the story is about, and it's about the adventure and what happens. And the bonus for this is it actually is a Christmas book. This qualifies for my 25 books of Christmas, because in the story there are some great Christmas scenes. So I was excited that I could also use it for that. And I really think that this is going to be a Christmas tradition for me because I loved it so much. I think it would be great to read this every Christmas. Just like I read A Christmas Carol at Christmas, this will be great too. And I'm telling you, I have fallen so in love with this story that now I've got to go watch the 101 Dalmatians cartoon again. And anything I can find with 101 Dalmatians, I'm going to be obsessed with because it's that great. Dodie Smith can definitely tell a story because I really enjoyed her storytelling in I Captured the Castle. But this one blew it out of the park. I loved this book. So if you have not read 101 Dalmatians, I highly recommend it. A favorite of the year. It was a fantastic read, 5-star for me. So those are the books that I have been reading this week for Christmas. I will be sharing more of an update later on my Cloak and Dagger Christmas, as well as some other things I will be doing to celebrate this wonderful time of the year. What are you doing this week to celebrate? Are you reading any great books? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.